The Locked On Podcast Network presents the NBA Big 3 in 30. The 3 biggest stories in the NBA from our local experts at the Locked On Podcast Network. We bring you the real story, why it matters, what's next, who wins the big game, and more, all in 30 minutes. The NBA Big 3 in 30 starts now with the biggest stories in the NBA.
And that is why you do not want to see the Golden State Warriors in the playoffs. Not quite a career high for Steph Curry in points nor three-pointers. He had hit 13 before. The NBA record was 14 from Klay Thompson, but Steph puts it in the bucket from deep 12 times. 56, man. Incredible stuff from Steph Curry. We got MVP chance in Orlando. San Francisco, this side of the country, Orlando, all the way down here on the other side of the country. And we got Steph Curry chance in Orlando. What a show he put on. Craziest part of this game, the score. Warriors 121, the Magic 115. This was not some sort of blowout. It was a game that Steph Curry had to will the Warriors to a victory in. The Magic played great. Steph Curry played better. The Magic scored 21 points in the third quarter. Steph Curry scored 22 points in the third quarter. There were Curry flurries down the stretch, but let's hit it chronologically. Paolo Banchero torched the Warriors in the game. He had 41 points, 24 in the first half on 10 of 12 shooting. Nothing could stop the Magic. It was their best first quarter of the year. They were 15 of 18, 4 of 6 from 3. They looked phenomenal. They were 5 of 10 from 3 to start the game and 5 of 28 their entire last game against Cleveland. This is the worst shooting team in the NBA. They were red hot, and they had a 14-point halftime lead. However, I feel like most of Dub Nation knew to hit the live bet in this game. It was the only play, Kolsky, because Steph Curry hits a half quarter right before halftime, and he just had that look in his eye. It was brought up on the broadcast that the Warriors were not losing tonight with the way he was playing. I mean, he was sizzling. Heat check all game.
It was a classic Steph Curry night. And you're right. It's not just that he hit something going into the half. It's three-quarter court, nothing but net. Just, I almost felt bad for the Magic, up 14 at halftime.
They played so well.
Because they did. They played so well, but you knew they couldn't shoot 65% for another half of basketball. And you just knew Steph Curry was coming. And boy, did he. That third quarter was, again, a classic. 22-point quarter. How many 20-point quarters did Steph Curry have over the heart of the Warriors championship run? It's just, it feels good. There's nobody like him in the league, maybe ever, but certainly right now, where he can excite an opponent's building in his favor better than anyone I can ever remember seeing. Because look, people are amazed by LeBron. People were amazed by Jordan. But, like, there's an anger when they're doing it to you. And somehow there's something so wonderful and joyful and beautiful about Steph Curry playing basketball that when he starts doing it to your team, it's hard not to still kind of like it. And, yeah, there's a lot of Steph Curry fans in that house, but there were a lot of Magic fans giving him an ovation when he subbed out in that third quarter.
It's the dream, man. I remember back in YMCA basketball back in the day, you're never thinking about, hey, we're going to come back on this team that's bigger, stronger, faster than us. We're down 27 at halftime. We're not coming back by taking the ball to the rim and dunking on these big fellas. We're going to chuck up some shots and hope that they are going to go in. And with Curry, like down the stretch of this game, I mean, it's Steph Curry, so there's no such thing as chucking up anything. There's no such thing as hoping. These are calculated shots. But some of the difficulty on these shots, and he missed a few of them, don't get me wrong. But, I mean, they're throwing doubles at him. They were not going to let Steph Curry beat them, and he still beat them. He found a way every single time, man.
No one has wanted to let Steph Curry beat them for a very long time. You know what I mean? Like, he's been on the level of don't let that guy beat you for a decade. And he still beats people all the time. And you know what? Jimmy Butler wasn't particularly good tonight, but his presence is still enough to give that extra couple inches of space. The fact that Moody and Podziemski are playing so much better, that helps to just give that extra inch of space. And I think sometimes when it had been so hard for so long with so little other scoring threat on the floor, you can forgive some of the outsiders for forgetting that it's just that extra fraction of an inch that this guy needs to be as dynamic and explosive of a scorer as the NBA has ever seen.
What's crazy too is when Wiggins, the 2 games after Andrew Wiggins had left, but Jimmy Butler had not arrived, when Butler was still on the Warriors bench, I think it was Utah and LA, he was shooting 30 shots a game. Remember? Shooting 30 shots a game to score 30 points. He knew he had to do a ton, but didn't have the spacing and the gravity that Jimmy Butler provides, right? It didn't allow him to free up as much. Tonight, he only shot it 25 times to score 56. He was 16 of 25, 12 of 19 from deep. He got to the free throw line 12 times. He knocked every single one down. Did have 4 turnovers in the game, but you can excuse that at this point. Draymond had 4 turnovers too. That's just the Golden State Warriors, man. You get a few Draymond
turnovers,
thrown passes off the backboard from time to time. It's part of the game. And then
Draymond actually
the other way and knocked down 3, but that's part of the Warriors experience. You also get 12 threes from Curry.
Draymond's weren't so bad for me tonight. Steph had a couple of that attempted pocket pass to, I believe Kalena described it like he threw it into Wendell Carter's calves. That was brutal. There were a couple of throwaways from Steph that were awful. 2 of Draymond's weren't even his fault. There was one where Podziemski faked him out. and then there was another one where he thought Butler was going to go up on one side of the rim and Jimmy tried to go under. And you know, those I can forgive. It's that pass was never, ever going to get through that drive me nuts. Even when he's scoring 56 points, I wish he wouldn't do that, but you're probably right. We just gotta, it's a small price to pay for the sort of things that we got to watch tonight.
And it's fascinating to watch a game where a player, and it can be anyone, because any NBA team, any college team, any high school team, when you have a player that's as unconscious as Steph Curry, they're going to there. That's the Wi-Fi from time to time. It's perfect every single night. And then the day that Steph Curry decides to go for 56, they say they must be Magic fans running the cable here in the Walter household. But down the stretch, it's just crazy how Magic know it's coming. They're throwing doubles at the guy. Curry's moving all over the floor. I mean, the Fitbit, if he was wearing one, would have read 25,000 by the end of this game, and no one can fricking stop him. But at a point, it kind of scared me because the Magic were hanging around. They were down by 3 points late in the basketball game. And I'm thinking, what if they lose this game with Steph Curry playing this well?
Well, I mean,
they had no other answers, it felt like, aside from Steph.
Yeah, and I do think that's something we can talk about, and maybe tonight's not the night because there's plenty of good stuff to focus on tonight. But, you know, Jimmy Butler isn't Jimmy Butler yet, and I think a huge part of that is just conditioning, and there's game, you know, there's being in shape, and then there's being in NBA game shape, and you can't get in NBA game shape without playing NBA games. And you know, he sat out for a long time, came back, started to find a rhythm, then had the whole All-Star break to sit out, which for him was, you know, over a week. I get it, but he is going to have to start to look for his shot more at some point. You know, these are like the smaller problems that when you have what they now have, which is both juice and, you know, depth, you can afford to play through some of this stuff because, yeah, Steph Curry will save you on a night. And you know what? Sometime before the end of the season, Jimmy Butler's going to save you on a night when Steph Curry doesn't have it. So, you know, that's the advantage of having them both.
You heard the number for Jimmy Butler from 3, right? 1 for 14 to start the season.
When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on it than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you miss the opening tip-off or want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. I love using FanDuel's live betting feature because it keeps every moment of the game exciting, whether I'm backing my team for a late-game rally or picking a player to hit a clutch three. I never feel like I missed my chance. Plus, the app is easy to use, and when you win, you get paid instantly. Friday night NBA action boasts a variety of lines to get in on. The Nuggets, 1-point favorites on the road against the Pistons, who have won 8 straight. The two best teams in the East face off in Boston, where the Celtics are favored by 2.5 over the Cavs, and the Clippers, 1.5-point dogs in their crosstown showdown with the Lakers. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA.
The Timberwolves lost the Lakers on Thursday night. We're going to talk Ant ejection and suspension.
You are Locked On Timberwolves, your daily Minnesota Timberwolves podcast.
So the Timberwolves come into this game, of course, no Rudy Gobert. He's still out. Still no Julius Randle. But it is the return of Donte DiVincenzo after missing the last roughly 6 weeks, actually. And the Wolves did okay with him out. Like they were, I think 11-8 was the record. I think he missed 19 games. And, of course, when DiVincenzo went out, he was in the starting lineup. They brought him back off the bench, presumably a minutes restriction of some sort. I haven't seen the postgame with Chris Finch yet, but he only played 23 minutes. He played really well. He actually had the best plus-minus of any Timberwolves player, third best plus-minus of anyone in the game in this one, a plus 15 and 23 minutes off the bench. I thought Donte played very well. He also had 6 assists and no turnovers. But return of DiVincenzo was very nice to see. Again, still no Randall, still no Gobert. The Lakers relatively healthy. Earlier this year, the Wolves played them with no LeBron. Of course, it was before the Luka trade. No Jared Vanderbilt. Those guys are all back. Luka was on the floor. LeBron was on the floor, and they both played fairly well. LeBron was awesome in this game. So, according to FanDuel, the Lakers were on FanDuel, the Lakers were 5.5-point favorites in this game. They ended up winning by 9. And early, it looked like the Wolves were going to lose by 19. It looked like there was no interest in the Timberwolves on the Timberwolves' part of being at the game at all. They had 13 points midway through the first quarter. They finished the first quarter with 17 points. They were down 16 after the first frame. It just almost no competitiveness for Minnesota. The bench unit did better than the starters. Jalen Clark was started, 4th start in his career, got into early foul trouble. Ant was bad early. Nas was bad throughout. Jaden did nothing scoring wise until the second half. So it was really the bench that had to carry them offensively. A little bit of TJ Shannon early, a little bit of Nikhil. I think Donte hit an early 3. It was limited offense, we'll call it. So down 16 going to the second quarter. Eventually, though, the Wolves started to play harder defensively. The Lakers only had 12 turnovers for the game, but the Wolves turned them over, were pretty opportunistic in the second quarter and got some easy offense going the other way. And also ran a bit after defensive rebounds, which is not super in character for Minnesota. And they were able to get themselves some easier buckets in transition and semi-transition. And the half-court offense started to look a little bit more fluid. And they were down 15 still late second quarter. But Ant went on a bit of a run himself. He got fouled, hit a couple free throws, saw the ball go through the net, and then hit a tough 3. And ended up Minnesota was a +5 for the quarter, and they were down 9 at halftime. They were down 11 at halftime, actually. And then in the third quarter, Anthony Edwards, I should mention, end of the first quarter, Ant got a technical foul in a bit of a shoving match with Jared Vanderbilt. It looked like, based on the replay, that DiVincenzo and Vanderbilt inadvertently crossed paths, and Vando bumped DiVincenzo's elbow. He turned around and said something. Vanderbilt said something, and then Ant got in between and gave Vanderbilt a shove. Of course, former teammates. Vando shoves Ant back. They both get technicals, and that's it. It was pretty weak in the moment for the officials to bother to call anything there. Play's dead. Just tell them to go to their huddles. Maybe. We don't know exactly what was said. Maybe the refs weren't aware that those guys were teammates. Who cares? It just seems silly that it's not the middle of the play. It's dead ball situation. Just tell them to go back to the bench. Why bother call the double technical? They do. Ant gets one technical there. And then in the third quarter, Ant gets bumped. I forget who it was. It might have been Austin Reeves. And honestly could have been called for an offensive foul, I thought, with the off arm, but it had to have been something. It was a foul on somebody. Ant falls down and slides, and they don't call anything at all. And then he complains while he's sitting on the floor, and the Lakers are trying to time out for a jump ball. And referee Brent Barnaky calls him for a technical, which then was his second of the game. He was ejected. Ant doesn't leave the floor. He throws the ball into the stands, which is undoubtedly a big fine. He's already been fined a ton this year. So my take on the Ant thing, I'll give that quickly now. Obviously selfish. It's at the point, and I understand the frustration. I've talked about it a lot on this show. Ant does not flop around like insert star player here. The Lucas, the Shai Gilgeous-Alexanders, James Hardens of the world. Like, he doesn't play that way. He plays through contact. He's like a running back. Guys bounce off of him. Sometimes contact doesn't impact him. The one I'll never forget is the marginal contact in the last 2-minute report from the SGA play last year, where SGA is literally gripping his arm. It's not just like a tap, which is a foul. It's like his hand was wrapped around Ant's forearm on a dunk, and it was called marginal contact because it didn't impact the dunk attempt, because Ant is really strong. It's the Shaq syndrome. It really is. He doesn't get calls. I get it. The first technical was weak. Don't get involved, Ant, but it was a weak call. The second one, also weak. The throwing the ball in the stands thing, but Ant's got to be smarter because he's already got the one technical, right? Like he can't put himself in that situation. And then throwing the ball in the stands, I guess, as long as he's not suspended another game for that, if he's just fined, I guess fine. It's his money, right? Like, it just doesn't. It's not a great look. It's kind of tantrumy. But look, I get it. I get Ant's frustration. And the technicals were both weak. They just were. And I haven't seen Chris Finch's post game yet. I don't know what he said about it, but Ant has to think smarter than that. The Wolves were kind of on the upswing in this game, and it halted a little bit of momentum in the moment. And now he's been suspended for the Utah game on Friday night because it was his 16th tech of the year. And now for every 2 technicals after this, when he gets to 18, when he gets to 20, when he gets to 22, it's another game suspension. And he can't have that. All right, so after Ant was ejected in the third quarter, the Timberwolves were still down. I think it was hovering around double digits at that point. This thing, like, the Wolves just kept chipping away. And the fourth quarter was just a TJ Shannon onslaught. It was a little bit shades of the OKC game. The Lakers are missing a bunch of shots, but I actually thought it was a little bit different because the way the Lakers approach things, the way OKC approaches things is different. The fourth quarter started with Minnesota down 11, and then they were quickly down 13. There was the Austin Reeves 3-point attempt with the foul called on Jalen Clark. He swears he didn't touch him. Upon review, it's still unclear to me if he actually touched him. The officials said he did on the replay. I think they would have been better off saying it was inconclusive, because to me, it was not conclusive. He touched him. But I guess I get if you can't prove he didn't touch him, which is why that's a tough challenge to win. Unless you could prove he did not touch him, they can't really overturn it. So, I think it was a bad call and worded poorly by, I think it was James Williams in the arena, the referee and crew chief. The Wolves lose the challenge. Lakers go back up by 14. And then you kind of get this back and forth. Like, LeBron misses a bunch of shots. TJ Shannon then goes off. Dante hits a 3 mixed in there. Shannon scores a bunch of points in a row. The Wolves get it down to 4 points with just under 7 minutes to play. So actually, let's do this. 6.5 minutes to play. Wolves down 4. TJ Shannon in the open floor after a miss from Austin Reeves. The Wolves have an opportunity to get it to within 1 or 2 points. Shannon tries a whirling dervish spin after being awesome the last 5 minutes, scoring a ton of points. Bad decision in the open floor. The ball gets stolen. On the other end, Nas gets called for a shooting foul, which appeared to be the right call with the body. The block looked clean, but there was probably a blocking foul. Nas turns around and the cameras caught him saying, you need to call that on the other end too. He gets a technical for that, which I don't know. Every elementary school, middle school, high school coach in every game across America says that in every game and doesn't get called for a technical. I don't even think he swore, just based on the clip I saw. And he gets a technical. The Lakers hit the technical, but then missed the other free throws. So it's still just a 5-point game, make the technical, but Vanderbilt misses the 2 free throws. The Wolves are still within 5. They come down. Naz gets a wide open 3-point attempt and misses. Then the Lakers come down. Gabe Vincent misses a 3. The Wolves come back down. TJ Shannon turns it over again. Maybe that was the Whirling Dervish turnover. At any rate, he had 2 turnovers in a span of a minute with the Wolves within 4 or 5 points. TJ Shannon did. And sandwiched around the Naz technical and the Naz open miss 3. And that's where the game shifts. Jaden still hits a bucket the next time down. The Wolves get to within 3, but then JJ Redick calls a timeout. The Lakers never look back. The Wolves are within 3. They never got closer than 4 the rest of the way. They pushed it to 7 with just over 3 minutes to play, and then back to 7 with just over 2 minutes to play. Got all the way to 8 with 2 minutes left, and that was basically it. So that was their opportunity, and they blew it. It was just the missed open 3 from Naz and a couple turnovers from a rookie who played extremely well in this game. And then it was Luka and LeBron down the stretch. Of course, there was that nutso Luka 3 from the left wing, which is actually Ant's spot above the break over there. That was the end of the shot clock to push it from 95 to 91. It was still just a 4-point game. I should also note Naz missed a free throw mixed in there too. That could have made it a 3-point game again. Instead, it's a 4-point game. Luka beats the shot clock with the 3 to push it to 7. And TJ Shannon scored right out of the timeout on the next possession, but the Wolves never got closer than 5 the rest of the way. So tough end for Minnesota without Ant available, of course. I mean, like, overall, not really a game they deserved to win, especially with the way that they started. Good resiliency showed throughout, for sure. What was interesting in this game, the Wolves won fast break points 23-7. The Lakers only turned it over 13 times, which is just one more time than Minnesota. The Wolves did a good job not turning it over. The Lakers don't generate a lot of turnovers anyway, but turnover battle was close, but the Wolves won fast break points 23-7. They were running consistently early, often in this game, and that was really a smart approach. They lost the rebound battle by 11. They gave up 16 offensive rebounds to the Lakers. And if you give up 17 boards to a 40-year-old LeBron James, not ideal. That's what happened in this game. They also gave up 13 rebounds to Luka Doncic. Those two combined for 30 of the Lakers' 52 rebounds, which is just crazy. And just, I mean, they're both just big dudes, right? The Wolves got 12 from Naz Reid, 8 from Jaden McDaniels, 6 from Ant, and nobody else had more than 5. Minnesota was out-rebounded by 11.
When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on it than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you miss the opening tip-off or want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. I love using FanDuel's live betting feature because it keeps every moment of the game exciting, whether I'm backing my team for a late-game rally or picking a player to hit a clutch 3. I never feel like I missed my chance. Plus, the app is easy to use, and when you win, you get paid instantly. Friday night NBA action boasts a variety of lines to get in on. The Nuggets 1-point favorites on the road against the Pistons, who have won 8 straight. The 2 best teams in the East face off in Boston, where the Celtics are favored by 2.5 over the Cavs, and the Clippers 1.5-point dogs in their cross-down showdown with the Lakers. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA.
The Bucks versus the Nuggets did not disappoint. Shoot, Giannis versus Jokic.
You are Locked On Bucks, your daily Milwaukee Bucks podcast.
Post-game pod, a real fun one in Milwaukee against the Nuggets. A game where we saw all 5 Bucks starters finish with double-digit scoring. Plus, you had Gary Trent Jr. drop 15 off the bench. Impressive win with the Bucks being up like 11, 12 points with about 4 minutes left in the game and responding. Even with the Nuggets getting that margin down to 5, they could not get it any closer because the Bucks were able to continuously respond. And I just want to start here because seeing 2 of the best players in the world hit the court and compete against each other is always a joy. Like, Giannis paced the Bucks tonight with 28 points. He had a season high 19 rebounds, 7 assists. I should have played his PRA and Prize Picks and not just his points. And Jokic had another triple-double in this one. But what did you see from Giannis tonight on the national stage against Jokic and the Denver Nuggets when they pulled out this big win?
Well, just a fantastic dunk in the last 30 seconds, right? That just came out of nowhere. He was like a speeding blur up the court and then threw it down. And then it looked like he mugged for the camera afterwards, but not a TNT camera. We didn't see, but I'm sure we'll see some what is his visage was that. Exactly. It looked mean.
It was.
But before that, actually, I think the 2 free throws he hit there when they had cut it to 5, huge. And then the next time down the court, I think it was, he hit that 17-footer kind of from the elbow. 2 really big shots late in the game. I mean, you figured to close it out when it got to 5, it's okay, it's Dame time. And to be fair, Dame did kind of hit the dagger in this one. But I thought Giannis's free throws and buckets in that, I think it was around that 2 to 3 minute range. Those were huge, but throughout the rest of the game, I mean, it was really just, I thought at points in the second half, it was just kind of barbecue chicken for him. When he saw I don't know, Christian Brown down there, maybe
he had one against Murray that was nasty.
Yeah, Murray too. And maybe also seeing Strother down there. He's these guys are too small, and I'm way more athletic than these kids. So you could tell he takes this matchup pretty seriously. This is a dude who kind of snatched an MVP away from him. I mean, he finished, I think, 4th or 5th that year that Jokic got his first, but maybe the year after that, it could have been Giannis's. I think he takes it very seriously playing against Jokic. Jokic is just such a joy to watch. I mean, offensively, I mean, he's just so crafty, and he can shoot it from anywhere. Obviously, only takes 2 threes tonight, but I this year when he shoots a 3, I just kind of assume it's going in. But so much down low for him tonight too. And I don't want to blaze Jokic too much. This is a Bucks podcast, but it was it did live up to its billing, I think. And I mean, I would say Giannis, he got the dub, so I don't really care that Jokic had the game high 32. Giannis was, I think, the more dominant player, certainly physically, and he had some good defensive plays too. I thought that Jokic wasn't gonna really do, and Jokic turned the ball over 5 times too. So yeah, it was Giannis's game.
And that defense that you pointed out, that tends to be a big difference, especially when you hear Bucks fans always have that debate about the argument of here's why we view Giannis as being a better player. And I'm not trying to hash that argument out in full now, but when you look at the way that Giannis can affect the game defensively as well, and then you see plays like in this game where Jokic just takes the play off defensively from time to time there, but it's not to take away from what Jokic can do with the ball in his hands, because he is just an offensive genius, not just scoring, but setting up his teammates, getting everyone else involved. He's, like you said, he's truly a joy to watch. I like watching high-level hoops. And I like that you brought up that Dame had that dagger late in the 4th quarter, because it was a really big play for the Bucks. And when you look at the box score alone, or you watch the game, it wasn't a heavy dose of Dame in this game. He only took 9 shots throughout the game, finished with 19 points because he was able to get to the free throw line 6 times, was perfect at the line there. What did you think of how the Nuggets were playing Dame? Because we've seen this strategy before with teams just trying to get the ball to Dame's hands, make someone else make a play. So how do you think that the Bucks and Dame responded to this? Because Dame was able to hit some key shots, not even just that 4th quarter one, which was the dagger, but even to end the 1st quarter to tie it all up at 30, all that deep 3 that he had. How'd you think of Dame's play tonight?
Yeah, that buzzer beater was pretty nice. Yeah. I thought, they were kind of denying him at certain points, but I was impressed just with his straight line drives that he had. Most of those seemed to be, I guess, kind of the second half. I can't remember, but he had a few that were really nice. So he was just kind of taking what they were giving him. He got 1 3 in the corner, and then just spent the rest of the the game, kind of taking the shots in that like just above the break area, kind of on the right wing. And he hit some big ones. I think he was not like super involved as a facilitator in this one. Interesting to see that Kuzma got one more dime than him.
Yeah.
I thought he actually made some. I thought he made some good defensive plays too. He got a couple steals, and we were talking about it. Yeah, he turned the ball over 4 times in the first quarter. There's some wacky stuff in that first quarter, but then he did not turn the ball over the rest of the game. He played 35 minutes, so we're talking another, I guess, like 23 minutes, no turnovers, and he racked up some assists, and he scored about 14 of his points during that time. So, yeah, I thought it was an effective night from him, if just a quiet one.
I think that's a great way to sum it up. Ineffective, even if it's a quiet one from Dame. And to your point about the first quarter, the 4 turnovers, he had a few where it was like he was doing that thing where he penetrates, he touches paint, he drives, and he would find himself in the air and then just toss it. It's like didn't really know where you're going with the ball at the time, a bad turnover. And something I've been talking about with this Bucks team that I look at a lot, it's just like, what is the body language after a mistake or after you don't get a call? Are you staying back down there to complain, to gesture to the refs, or are you getting back? Because throughout the first half of this game, not just a Dame problem at all, but like the Bucks were just slow at times in the first half to get back. And at halftime, I said like to myself, the Bucks just have to execute the effort plays better. They have to get back on defense. They got to box out. They got to play with pace and stop moving the ball casually, like the example of getting in the air, nowhere to go, and just kind of flinging the ball up. Like you got to play with a purpose. And I thought in the second half, you saw them play with a lot better purpose and just come up with some big plays.